Ladies and gentlemen, today on Crime and Entertainment, we have a very, very special guest. Now, this man has appeared in over 60 films and television shows, including Patriots Day, Bleed for This, The Brotherhood, Meet the Parents, New York Undercover, NYPD Blue, Law and Order, and my most personal favorite TV show of all times, The Sopranos. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome actor John Fiore. How are you, pal?
I'm good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me on the show tonight.
Hey, man, it's my pleasure. I love the show. I'm a fan of all you guys. Where are you at right now? Where are you? You in Boston?
I grew up in Boston, yeah, and my whole life, but now I'm in New Hampshire, which is really not far from Boston. Like the border is like within, you can be in Boston and get to New Hampshire in 30 minutes, and then New Hampshire could go for a while.
Right.
I'm in southern New Hampshire, which is kind of like Massachusetts at this point, you know. But
now,
yeah,
I took a trip up there probably a couple years ago with my family, and we went around Boston and then went to Block Island. You ever been to Block Island?
yeah, man, I like Block Island. That's very cool.
Yeah, you got to take the boat out there and everything to get there. Well, I'm assuming some people take a plane, but I took a boat.
Yeah, I've been there once in my life. I went 2 years ago with a dear friend out of the blue. His brother had a boat. We stayed on the boat for this like wild weekend of drinking and staying on the boat. Very cool. I haven't done it since. I want to do that more often.
Probably just recovering from it there.
I'm telling you, man, you have such a capacity to drink in that environment. You can really do it.
Yeah. I'll know when it gets that time around certain events and certain outings, my liver, I just kind of go ahead and prepare it.
Right.
It's going to be that time, that type of time there for sure.
Absolutely.
So now, did you grow up in Boston? Is that where you grew up?
Well, I did. It's a town called Somerville, which is really an extension of Boston. It's just a butt. I was born in Boston, grew up in Somerville, which touches Boston. It's like here to there.
Right.
And that was my territory. Boston, Cambridge, Somerville was where we spent our youth and younger days, all roaming around that territory. There was quite a lot of action there. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, now actually, crazy. The town I'm in here in Charleston, it's a smaller town in Somerville. Also, it's spelled SUMMERVILLE.
Oh yeah.
Yours is probably with an O, right? I'm guessing.
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
All right. So now, when you say a lot of action around those parts, was there a lot of mob activity where you were at in the streets where you were at?
Well, there was heavy mob. Yeah, the mafia was in its heyday when I was a young man, boy, and into young man. The mafia was in full fledged. It hadn't been taken down yet. Boston and New England had quite the organized crime family.
Right.
There was the Winter Hill gang, the Whitey Bulger gang was right there. This was all happening really right before our eyes. From here to there, we could see these people. And we knew lots of stories and lots of people that were in it or close to it. You heard this, you heard that. But we were literally right in the eye of the storm. That's where we grew up.
Wow. Yeah. I've seen a lot of documentaries and, of course, checked out Black Mass about White Children and the Winter Hill Gang. The Brotherhood, which you were also in, wasn't that kind of loosely based on that? Not directly, but just kind of loosely.
Yeah, something. The timing was everything. They wanted it to be more like the Bulgers.
Right.
But they couldn't get it together to shoot it in Boston, which would have been cool.
Yeah.
Right then and there, that would have made it more like the Bulgers. So they moved it down to Rhode Island. We were doing film tax incentives and all that kind of stuff like that. So they're able to pull it away from Boston and for whatever other reasons.
Yeah.
But it was, I love Providence. They had their own history there. I do think that story would have better fit in Boston itself, but
yeah.
All
right. Well, when you were growing up there as a kid, did you have aspirations to be an actor, or was that just kind of something you got later, or how did that come about for you?
It was really something later for me because I was going to college. I had quit a couple of times, work, done part-time. And I was 26 years old when I graduated college. And I went to graduate, and the registrar told me I didn't fulfill all my requirements, all that stuff. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, you have to take something from this column and this column and that column. And I swear to God, just like that, I took acting like that. It was in the column of public speaking, voice and articulation, acting, and stuff like that.
Right.
And I just went, oh, well, and I did it. It wasn't like I was wanted to be an actor or anything like that. I did it, and I got the bug, as they say. You know what I mean? And I liked it a lot. And then from there, I started to, really devote myself to it,
Right.
and went from there. And that's how it all really started.
Now you get a couple of roles, but I guess probably your big break here is when you land Tony Profaci on Law and Order. Is that kind of your
Yeah.
first breakthrough role there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of significance. I had done
Yeah.
some little things here and there that were big to me at the time, of course. But
Right.
Law and Order was good because it was really, the original was sort of cutting edge.
Right. Yeah.
And I got to hang around on the show for 10 years. So that kept me in business as an actor. Actors try to stay, financially relevant. And I was able, just from that alone, to kind of be in the machine. You know what I mean? Anything else I got, I was in business. You know what I mean? Because back then you had reruns. They don't have reruns in the classic sense like they did then.
Right.
So you did the episode in 3 months in prime time on NBC. It would be on again.
Yeah.
You'd get the full hit of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you just did it. So, and then you get a residual for it. It was just a good system. It kept me afloat. It kept me going.
I bet so. For 9 seasons, that's a long time for anything to stay afloat, especially these days. Like you said, Law and Order at the time was so cutting edge. Everybody was glued to it. So obviously you're getting a lot of FaceTime there. People recognize you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now you got involved with it. Now I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch that show. That was kind of in my party and heyday. So if it wasn't Sopranos or something like that, I didn't really sit down in front of the TV. But didn't you get involved with some mob activity in that show towards the end of your run there? What
I
dead
did,
or something?
Yeah. So there I was cruising along in my recurring role, which I was happy to do, because sometimes they were little, sometimes they're a little more, it varied.
But you're there.
So I'm there, and it was good. So then they came to me and said, we're going to do a Sunday night TV movie of the week. Remember, that was a big deal back then. They don't even have, that's gone. That was a big deal.
Out.
The NBC Sunday night movie of the week was huge. So they said, this is going to be like a Law and Order spinoff. Chris Nob had left the show. At that point. He was Gonzo, and he was going to come back for this movie. And it was called Exiled. And I had a prominent role in that, but Dick Wolf told me this will be the end of you in Law and Order. And I was kind of sad about that. And he said to me, well, how long can we really go? We've been on for 10 years already. At that time, they're in uncharted territory. He went for another 10 years, let alone the spinoffs that subsequently came.
Yeah, he's
but
still
the
going.
Original, when I left, there's 10 more years of that show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And who knew? Nobody knew.
Right.
So it was good. It was a good move. I had to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, Dick Wolf, I mean, he's spinning them off still left and right. He did Chicago Fire, and out of Chicago Fire spun Chicago PD with the Hank Voight character, and then out of that spun Chicago Med. So I mean, that man knows what he's doing when it comes to TV shows. Yeah,
he really does. And the fact is, I don't watch any of those shows. I never even watched the full episode of Law and Order, to be honest with you. I just wasn't my thing. I watched a cop half of it.
Yeah.
Until I came, and when I was off, see ya. I did. I wasn't into it. I just wasn't into it. I don't really watch any network TV at all for a long time. This doesn't do it for me,
Well, so like I said, you go 9 seasons on that. That's a long time. Now you worked with Jerry Orbach on that show. Is that right?
I did. I liked Jerry quite a bit. He was a wonderful man. We were friendly. We became friendly, and it was always a pleasure to see him and hang out with him. And he was so smooth, so loved by everybody. Just a great guy. I really liked him a lot.
Yeah, and rest in peace to him. A great, wonderful actor. Now there's some, I guess, word around the campfires. He was supposedly in Umberto's Clam House when they shot down Joey Gallo, supposedly. And he seen the shooter, but he kept his mouth shut. That's the word.
Well, honestly, he never said that to me. I think, and it sounds crazy to say it this way, but I think I maybe heard what you just said.
Yeah.
Like later on in life. What? I don't really know.
Yeah.
You know?
Him and Gallo were supposedly pretty good friends.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. I used to call Jerry the Prince of New York. Remember the movie Prince of the City?
Yeah.
I called him the Prince of the City because he was that kind of guy. He was a real New York guy. And, you know, he was cool. He was like the Prince of the City.
Yeah.
So nothing would surprise me, you know?
Right. And like I said, that's often been up for debate of who really did shoot Joe Gallo. I know Frank Sharon says he did. He says he killed Hoffa. He says he killed a lot of people from COVID. I mean, it goes on and on. So it is what it is what you believe, I guess.
Exactly.
So when you leave that, how long after were you out of Law and Order did you hear about The Sopranos? When did that come about?
Well, not very long, really, because I think I left Law and Order in 98-ish, right. 98, 99, maybe. And I had, even after that, I appeared on a few things, just hanging in. I wasn't super devastated by it at that point. The first year of Sopranos was on. I didn't watch it. I wasn't, you know, plugged in then.
Right.
I heard about it. I heard it was great. People were loving it. Oh, yeah. And I ended up seeing the second half of season 1. A friend of mine had them on VHS. And then I guess, I like this show. Oh, I'd like to be on this show. So in the second season, now I got a call to go on an audition for it, not knowing how long, what would happen to me or anything. Nobody knows that.
Right. Yeah.
So I went in for GG role and I got it. And then from there, you know, I did what I did. You go week by week, you know.
Now, did you read for anybody else other than GG, or was GG all you read for?
That was it, man. That was the one and only time I went in. Some guys I know went in there 9 times, got nothing.
Yeah.
And they're good actors. You know, it's just, you know, as anybody that does acting, I sit back now and say, it's amazing anybody gets anything. There's so many people. It's so hard. Yeah. Anytime I get something, even looking back, I go, how did I get anything? It's weird, you know?
Well, obviously you impressed some people. Was David Chase in there alone? Was he in there when you read?
He was in there, yeah. He was in there, and
he seems to be quite an intimidating presence.
Well, you know what it is? He's not yet. You know, there's a couple of forms of Italians in this world. He's not your gregarious type. Right. You know, I'm of the gregarious camp, and hey, you know, he's more like quiet. Quieter dude, which makes, you know, could be a bit intimidating. You can construe it that way. So I went in there, but he's a good guy, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And, yeah, but he's a little, you know, he's different in that way. And I remember I didn't have much of much material to even do at the audition. So it was all about a look. You know what I mean? It really was.
Yeah.
And it was about the bantering in between, because there was only 2 lines at the audition, and they weren't even in sequence. You know what I mean? That's always the worst thing for an actor. Like, okay, my first thing is go over there, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then like you flip 5 pages ahead, you say something. It's just nothing. You can't grab it.
You can't get a flow that way.
There's no flow. So the flow took place in the bantering, in winning the room, shall we say?
Right.
You know what I mean? That's where the real audition took place for me. I wore these leopard shoes that I got from Law and Order. My finale movie, from some other character wore them, and I took them. They were fancy shoes, like I call them show business shoes, you know, or like rockabilly shoes or something. You know, I like them, but you know, you don't wear them everywhere. So Gigi had a flamboyant description, the way they wrote them down. So I wore them, and they're all. When I went into the room, it was like 10 people. Like you hit with 10 people. I had no idea. They're all there looking at you like a mini audience. And I remember saying, you're going to see a lot of good actors here today, but nobody's out acting these shoes. I felt this, I swear to God, the way they reacted, I said, I think I'm going to get this.
Yeah, you knew you had it.
I mean, and I got it, because that was it. When I got to the line part of it, it was so little and it didn't really matter in a way. It was about the look. We connected with that little moment.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I'll go to my grave saying that got me the part. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I'm sure it did, the way you describe it. So you come in on the opener of season 2.
Yeah.
Now you come in literally with a bang as you blow the Junior's Capo's head off there. That's actually the
That's
twin
correct.
brother of Patsy, right? It was what was his name? Philly.
Philly.
Yeah. So, and now one of the things I love about The Sopranos is its attention to detail. Now you're in that car with him and you shoot him. I don't know if it was once or twice in the head. That's going to really hurt your ears. Now in the movies, they might not always think to portray that, but you even actually, after you pull the trigger, you kind of do that number, you know, signifying that it hurt your ears. Cause in real life, that would have definitely done some damage.
Yeah.
That's the kind of attention to detail they have on that show.
Well, that's true. I mean, a lot of people have mentioned that over the years. A lot of people want to say to me, "Oh, what a great choice you did to do that." Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
but the fact of the matter is, it was written into the script. That's how, like you just said, it was detailed. It was that detailed. It was written into the script that Gigi fires, shoots, and recoils and hurts his ears. And that's exactly what I did. I remember when we shot the scene, there was no loud noises at all.
Right.
When I went to shoot, it was literally this loud, click, click. So I would go click and have this scream like it was hurting my ears. I remember going, "This is going to seem so phony." You know what I mean? Because there was no noise.
Right.
And I had to pretend it. So then when I saw it, like with the gunshot sound put in there, it really worked well. But that was all written in there, you know?
Yeah. Now that character was played by Dan Grimaldi, and as we mentioned earlier, he went on to play Patsy, a guy that was in, you know, Tony's crew for quite a while. Now he was like one of about 3 people to play multiple people on the show. You had Joseph Ganascoli. He was actually in there in a small role in the bakery, and then he came in as Vito later on. I'm not sure of her name, but the actress that played Jean Cusimano, she also played her sister.
Oh, that's correct. You're right. Yeah.
And then there was one other girl, Vanessa Velito. She played, and you were involved in that episode. She was Mustang Sal's girlfriend.
Oh, that's right.
For a very quick second, you only see her for a second, and then later on, she's back in there dating little Paulie, and they're in a club with Christopher and Adriana. So,
right.
So very few people have done that, especially in a long-term capacity, but it does happen. And I heard the other day, the lady that played Jean Cusimano, she was on the Talking Sopranos, and she said that if you have 2 characters in the show, then you get 2 checks. So that must be nice.
Yeah. You get to, I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
You have to, yeah.
You need to come up with a way to play triplets or something like that in a new pilot or something. Get you 3.
That would have been nice.
Yeah.
I got a little tidbit for you. Dan Grimaldi is a great guy, you know, we're friends, and we hit it off from day one. That first day, that day I shot him, that was his first day. That was my first day. And they were shooting in Italy at that time. So we were the only 2 in New York on that set that day. Nobody but us 2 actors and this crew, and the other crew and the other actors were in Italy. Right. And we didn't know them. You know, we saw the show, but we didn't know them. So Dan and I spent that whole day together and shook hands. He goes, "Well, this is my one and only day in The Sopranos. Great meeting you," and all that. You know? And I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know where I was going. Like, you do that, but you don't know. Right. You don't get this anyway. That's what happened. And then, of course, he came back as a twin.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he did, because he's a great guy and he's a great actor. So.
Yeah, and he played his part well in there. Now season 2, it's probably my personal favorite of all of them. It's hard to put one over the other. It's very hard. But season 2 is probably my favorite out of the, I guess, 6, with 6 having 2 parts. Some people say 7. What's your opinion? What do you think is the best season out of them all? If you
know something, I mean, I see those lists that people did put down. I see 2 and 3 mentioned quite a bit.
Right.
And I honestly, I mean, though I'm a fan of the show, I can't, like, I like to think of my time. I'll say season 3 because I was involved in it.
Right.
And anything in the formative years, I liked all the seasons. Everything was good, you know, but I like 3, you know.
Yeah. In season 2, did you have very many scenes with David Proval that played Richie Aprile? Did you have very many scenes with him?
No, I only had that little flashback scene in season 4. When I'm long dead, I get a call to appear in a dream sequence. or a dream moment, shall we say.
Right.
And David and I are sitting in the back seat of a car together. And the entire scene consists of, Tony driving and just goes like this, looks back, and there we are. And that was our day's pay. That's all we had to do. Easiest day ever.
Yeah. Now he in season 2 was a real presence.
He's phenomenal.
Tony. Yeah.
He's my favorite bad guy on the show.
I didn't notice it because I was really young, but at the time, I rewatched movies that I watched when I was younger. And by this time I had seen The Sopranos, and my son, we would rewatch movies that I did when I was young. And we were watching Monster Squad. I don't know if you remember that movie. And
I remember the name.
Yeah, it's basically where like all the monsters come to life, like Dracula and Frankenstein and all that. But in the beginning, when they're flying the coffins that has these monsters in them, they fall out of the airplane. But one of the pilots in there is David Preval, and I'm sitting there with my son, and, we're watching it, and I'm like, yeah, I remember this as a kid. Hey, that's Richie Aprile. And he's like, who? I'm like, well, no, not really, but that's who it is. That's how I know it.
Yeah, because David is, first of all, a top level actor.
Absolutely.
And a great guy. I love him. I mean, we friendly, I'm not going to over exaggerate it, but we did a couple of autograph shows together. We spent full weekends together. And I saw him briefly in this last event in Atlantic City, just because there's so many people.
Right.
But he's a great actor. And I thought that Richie Aprile, I mean, he only did like 16 episodes or whatever. It seems like a lot more.
He was just in season 2. That was it.
Yeah, he was, to me, the best nemesis for Tony.
I think so.
And a lot of people, it is with the Sopranos, when it's happening, the one season complete, and there's new seasons coming, people tend to forget about what took place already. Right. They're focused on the present moment.
Right.
The next show, boom, boom, boom. And now that it's said and done, and it's hanging on a museum wall, all 6 seasons for people to analyze. That's why we all get so much mail and interest all these many years later from all over the world. Really, Absolutely. It's a phenomenon. But David, some of the people that said to me way back when that it really, not that they didn't like him, but they didn't like him or whatever.
Yeah.
Years later, he was the best guy. He was the very authentic sort of mob guy. So the mob guys that I came across in my life, he was realistic.
Oh, I mean, and he embodied that. I mean, right off the rip, his first day out of jail, he's threatening to beat Christopher on the sidewalk for hitting Adriana. He's out, 48 hours, and he's done run over Beansy and paralyzed him. I mean, he's he's talking down to Tony. He's cussing out Paulie, telling him to build a ramp up to his ass. I mean, just.
Oh, he's great. He's great.
There's nobody. I mean, some people irritated certain people on the show. Like Ralphie got up under Paulie's skin as well as Tony's, but David Preval just gave it to everybody. I mean, women too. Janice.
Yeah. No, he was great. He was really, really something. I wish he stuck around more, but that's the whole thing with the show. You know what I mean? Right. I read sometimes people say, "Oh, wish Gigi stuck around. Wish this guy stuck around. Wish that guy stuck around." You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, of course, I wish things could have been a little different for me on the show, but It is what it is.
And I think David said in an interview that he interviewed for Tony or read for Tony, and David Chase told him, he said, you're too on the money for this. I need somebody a little less threatening almost. But he said, I think I've got something for you later on. And that's, I think it was done the right way because he nailed 100%. Yeah. So how many episodes in season 2 were you in?
I don't know if it was 1 or 2 or what. Honestly, I don't even know at this point.
Because you're in there a lot in the opener.
Yeah, what's good, I was in back-to-back openers because between season 2, right? Remember, between season 2 and season 3 was such a break.
Yeah. Was that the writer's strike?
They showed the shooting again in the first episode of season 3. I went, that's good for me.
Yeah.
I lead off the seasons, because I had to remind people of what the hell happened.
Yeah.
So many months ago, over a year ago.
Well, and it's funny you say that. Was when I first started watching the show, I was going to college, so I was kind of busy and I didn't really, get into it. I love mafia films. I was, a big fan of Casino, Goodfellas, King of New York, stuff like that. So I was like, I need to sit down and watch the show. And it was like the first season came, the second season came, and 3 was fixing to come out. And I went by a pawn shop one day, just looking around, and they had the DVDs in there, which, those DVD sets were damn near like $100, back in
Oh
those.
yeah,
And
right.
they had them both in there for $20. And I didn't have HBO at the house at the time. And I was like, well, I'll try that. I flew through them. I don't even think I went to bed.
Yeah,
And it was just bam, bam, bam. And I'm waiting on season 3. After that, I ordered HBO. I was there every Sunday.
sure,
And,
yeah.
it was on after that. What do you think your favorite episode of season 2 was?
Of two.
Yeah, of 2.
Well, for me, I mean, I don't have a real recall of a lot of. I mean, I know the episodes. I've seen them all,
Right.
of course. I mean, the shooting scene for me was an exciting episode to pull off something like that. I mean, I grew up reading newspapers about gangland hits every day of the week
Right.
where I came from, and just see the pictures, those classic pictures that we've all come to know and love, right? So
Yeah.
I got to do a real gangland hit. So that episode was a favorite of mine. But something I love so many of them.
Yeah.
You know,
It's hard because, I mean, 2's got so many good episodes. I would probably have to pick Funhouse, which was the finale where they kill Big
I love
Pussy.
Funhouse.
Yeah.
I think I'm shining Dan Grimaldi's shoes in that one. In a dream sequence. Is that when Tony pours the gasoline on himself?
Yes. And that's what I was going to say. That was the only thing about Funhouse that I was just a little thrown off by, was the whole dream sequence and how he found out that, Pussy was ratting by the fish talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're shining his shoes and y'all are on the
I'm
boardwalk.
shining his shoes. Right?
Yeah.
That was my entire bit in that episode. That's all I had to do,
Yeah. Well, when they got him on the boat, that was just, I mean, everybody on there done real well. Benny Pastor killed that death scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, really remember. And I like the song that closed it out too, the Rolling Stones, Through and Through.
Yeah, I thought that scene, that montage at the end with the water and Tony recovered from his sickness when he lit that cigar, to me, that's the epitome of Tony Soprano at his apex.
Yes.
Remember it was such a great shot in the song. I mean, you can't even think of it without the song now.
Right.
So perfectly married together. And when he lit that cigar with that backdrop of those cuts, I thought he was like, he had so many great moments and looks, but that was right up there. I always loved that.
Yeah. And they actually opened the show with that. It's one of the only ones, I think. There might be a few, but I know that's one of the very few that open and close the show, because it opens in that montage where everybody's kind of handing each other money at the table and all that, and then the closing, like you mentioned, with Jimmy lighting the cigar there, that was some classic stuff for sure.
Very powerful.
Going into 3, you become a little bit more prominent in the storylines and stuff. What was probably your most memorable moment from season 3 as a whole?
Well, I like the scene where I'm warning Tony about the twin. We're going to have problems with the twin.
Yes.
And that little diatribe I gave there, that was probably my favorite, because it was a good long scene for me, and always great to act with James. And, I like that a lot. I remember Danny and I talking. Danny said, "You're going to kill me again." The way the script was going, because I had fear about the twin.
Right.
And something I know it seems like maybe I will, I could, who knows? And he says, "You're gonna kill me again." And we all know what happened, of course. So no, I did not kill him again.
Right.
But I remember us kidding around talking about that, because you didn't really know. I remember even Tony Sirico coming up to me, and here I was, an in and out player on the show. He's a staple, asking me if I knew anything. That's how paranoid people were. Like, about the next script, like, get killed. I go, how the hell do I know? I don't know.
Yeah, we just did an interview with J.D. Williams, and he was in Oz. If you remember, that was kind of HBO's first groundbreaking prison episode there. And he said that it was kind of around the set where if you were late or you missed a reading or a shoot, that you would get put into a rape scene and not be the on the pleasurable end of that. It was kind of how they had people to be on their P's and Q's there. I imagine the Sopranos was a lot of the same way. If you wasn't, doing what you're supposed to do, they'll have to go ahead and take you on out.
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, when you get taken out, you always wonder why you were taken out.
Right.
Let me just backtrack to Oz for a minute. That's the only show I had a part in that I regretted not taking it. I was a prison guard. I think the name was Petrillo. I'm not sure. Rings a bell. Anyway, my agent at the time advised me not to take and to hold out for something better, and I shouldn't have listened to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That was
anyway,
a good show.
oh man, because he goes, Tom Fontaine, he goes, Tom knows you. I did a pilot for Tom that didn't go anywhere a couple of years before that.
Yeah.
The guy goes, Tom knows you. He'll come back at you with something, but it never happened. But
Yeah.
if I got in there, that prison guard, I might have hung around for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I think it
You're in
ran
a prison.
yeah, six seasons or so. And I mean, like I said, a lot of people relate to the Sopranos. You know, a lot of people relate to The Wire, you know, but I think everybody can relate to Oz because nobody wants to go to prison. And if you do, you're going to think about, you know, what happened on that show. And that's just.
Yeah, no, that's heavy duty.
Yeah, they got away with a lot back in those days on that show. A lot more than you can get away with now, for damn sure.
Times have changed, haven't they?
Yeah. Yes, they have.
Incredibly. In the wrong direction.
Yeah. So in season 3 here, there's a lot of big arc. You kind of have an arc there. Jackie Jr. obviously becomes a playing factor. And then Ralphie, who's, you know, obviously a pain in the ass of you and a number of others, including Tony. What was it like working with Joe Pantoliano on that set?
I love Joe Pantoliano. He was great. Everybody liked him. He was a fun guy. You know, some of his, you know, the roles he's done, you can see his personality and peeks through. He's a fun guy to be around. Very enjoyable, very, very easy to be with and hang out with and act with.
Right.
Regular and cool. And used to bring pastries in on his own, you know, like from someplace in New Jersey where he came from. And he's great. Gigi, unfortunately, was a plot device type character. You know what I mean, they could have maybe done something a little different here and there, but essentially they put me in a, I guess, the character in a bad position that something had to happen.
Yeah.
I wish it was a little more banging of heads before it happened.
Right.
And I wasn't crazy about obviously the way it happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who would be?
Well, yeah, we'll get in there. We'll get to that in just a second, because I mean, who in the world, of all the ways people die on that show, that's definitely one that it's memorable. I guess you can say that for sure.
Yeah, you can say that, I guess.
Now, in season 3, you work a lot with Jimmy Gandolfini, you know, in your one-on-ones, like you alluded to earlier. What was Jim like to work with as an actor? He just seems like one of the most solid guys you'd ever come across.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's a phenomenal actor. The guy's phenomenal, and there's just a connection. He was the daddy of the show, if you will. You know what I mean? He's a bear of a man, and super guy and actor. So doing scenes with him, there's a true comfort. You know what I mean? When you're working with a guy like that.
Right.
And it's just, it makes you better. You feel better. Just a treat. Really, I'm so glad that I've had 2 or 3 direct moments with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
On that show. So.
Yeah, I mean, and he took that role and he ran with it. I mean, he wasn't your typical wise guy from Casino or Goodfellas or anything like that. You know, he was chubby. He was balding. He was everything that you wouldn't think that they would cast in a leading man in that show, and he took it and he ran with it better than anybody I think could have done.
Oh yeah. Now he, you know, you imagine these other roles in movies, you know, you hear like who turned down the role. You know, oh, really? Wow, this is a role. This is a character. No man on this earth could have played Tony Soprano better than him. Now, other famous movies with famous actors and famous roles, you know, he was good, but so and so would have been good too. This one would have been good too. This one here with him, it's really hard to imagine the show even being as phenomenal. I mean, it couldn't have been. The guy was he's the sun in that universe of that show. Everybody else, oh, these are great roles. It evolved around, you know, he was the man that held it together. He was phenomenal, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, just, you can't say enough good things about him. Rest in peace to you know, James Gandolfini.
He had the eyes, you know, those eyes he had.
Yeah.
So nobody from almost like a dumb little boy look, right?
Yes.
When he had that persona going on to when he was pissed off and angry. It was extreme on both ends. That's a gift. People don't have that. You know what I mean? Like to be able to do that like that.
It's just like I rewatched the show all the time. I just kind of pick a random episode, and I was watching the one the other day, and it was in season 6. It was right after he got out of the hospital, and he's riding with the kind of muscled up guy that he winds up beating up later on.
Yeah.
He's sitting in the car, and you see his eyes look at him and just kind of up and down him and size him up. And it's like he's doing a scene, but he's just doing it with his eyes, and that's not something everybody can pull off.
Yeah, no, his eyes. I think David Chase even. I think I read something once. He mentioned his eyes, and anybody that watches knows. You notice it. I notice it.
Yeah.
That that was a gift he had, born with it, but a gift. He's a true gifted actor, and that's what made him. That's what made Tony Soprano so compelling.
Right.
It's just amazing. It's mind blowing, really.
And we talked about Joey P earlier, Joey Pants. The first episode, my wife, we had just, this was actually her first time coming to my house. We weren't married at the time. We had just, we were talking in the dating phase, and she comes over to my house, and I'm watching Sopranos, and it was when they finally kill him. When Tony kills him in the kitchen, and Christopher and him are dismembering the body. She comes in about that time and sits down on a couch, and I'm like, oh, I'm watching the Sopranos, and Christopher goes to chop his head off, and the wig comes off, and they have a little laugh about that. And then finally they take the head off and the hands and put them in the bag, and she's getting up about to leave. She's like, hey, you just call me when this is over. And I'm like, it's on DVR. We'll pause it. I'll go back to it. I think she was looking at me sideways like, what the hell is this guy watching? Yeah. But yeah, he was a memorable character for sure. What University, where he beat up Tracy outside. I mean, that's a brutal scene. And then Joe
was great. The character was great. He's not your typical like mob type guy you'd see in a movie. He was totally different. Like the guys like I mentioned earlier that grew up in Boston. There was no mob guys that looked like Joe Pantoliano did as Ralph. And you didn't really have any reference in movies of that sort of mob guy looking like that. But he pulled it off, and he was great. He was really great. He was really irritating to a lot of people in a good way.
Yeah, you get heated a couple of times when he's in the hospital and he cracks the joke.
He was great.
The guy there, and then you're trying to tell him, look, you're going to end up on a slab if you don't straighten up, and he's not listening to you.
Yeah.
So how do you get the call that they're getting you off the show? Does David Chase call you, or how does that work?
He did call me, and this was pre-cell phone.
Right.
So there was a message on my answering machine at home, right? Back in the day. So it was a Friday morning. I wasn't in that particular episode. That happened a lot. That happened even back to like some of the main guys, like maybe Paulie Walnuts missed one here and there, right?
Yeah.
So I did a couple. Script comes out. I'm not in that one. I go, I'm not alarmed. I don't take it as a, anything like that. So, but that means you're out of there for about 8-9 days, whatever it was, shoot one. So I got a call on my home phone message in the morning, but I missed the call like you did back then. So when I went to call him back, he was unavailable, David Chase. Mm-hmm. And then finally at 5 p.m., we connected, and he said, this is a call I hate to make. And you know what that means.
Oh, yeah.
And, I remember analyzing his voice in the first call, because he sounded, if not upbeat, he didn't sound negative either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He sounded like, he didn't go, hey, John, give me a call, please. But he wasn't way up, but it was more on the upside than the downside, you see? So I'm going, this has got to be good news. This has got to be about the contract. I really thought it was something good. I swear to God, I, for some reason, did not think it could be what it was. I didn't think it. I just didn't. So when he called and said that, I'm like, oh my God. And it was like a real death. So if you heard me, I would go, oh my God, when? How? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, if you were listening, you would think I just got news that somebody died for real.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, as an actor, when you're on a show like that, new friends, job, money, the greatest show, even then, you can tell, like, it was like, this is the show to be on. Yeah. Even in this third season, right? So who wants to go home? Who wants to be cut from the team?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I still had like 8 days to go though.
Yeah.
So he called me and told me all that. I pleaded a little bit.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, man, this is the way it is. But I still had to do that episode. I had like 8 days of work still to do. So even when I went back, though I was a dead man walking, right? As I was there, you almost forgot. You go, well, I still got 7 days, or 6 days now, or 5 days. We go into next week. So it seemed like, well, it's still a long time in the future, but of course it goes by fast. And that's how that went,
Now, I think the way Paulie put it was, maybe it's an Italian version, the pisciadoo. You go out on the shitter of all the places.
Yeah. Some people write me, they say, what did you do to piss David Chase off? Why were you written off? Did you want more money? Did you? None of those things are true, by the way. None of them, zero. And I heard on some podcast that he was on, maybe the one with the other two guys that have the podcast, right?
And put your own.
Yeah. Somebody told he said to me, only 2 people didn't like getting news of their death or whatever. He mentioned me and Al Sapienza.
Yeah.
So people wrote to me going, yeah, he even mentioned you pissed him. I go, no, it's a perfect example of how things get twisted and all like messed up.
Right.
It wasn't like that at all. It's very like, don't do it. Come on. Think of another way to do it. Please, David. No. We like you, John. We like you. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. And I go, hey, this is what we're doing. I go, fuck it. Okay, then. All right. That's what it is. Boom. But that's it. There was no beef about it. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Now, the guy you just mentioned, that was what? That was Mikey Palmisi, right? He played Mikey Palmisi. Yeah, he was a great character in the first season. Definitely kind of carried that, role over there with Junior on the other side there. He carried that great.
Yeah, absolutely. So both of us, obviously, you don't want to go. And if any person would say, come on, if somebody called you with that kind of news, you're on a show, you wouldn't go like this. Well, that's great. Thanks a lot. Hey, have a great day. You know what I mean? Of course, you're going to put up a little bit of something.
Yeah, try to talk them out of it.
So it was really the how thing,
Yeah.
I mean,
did he tell you how?
It was a double whammy. First, the bad news. I'm like, oh no. Then you gather yourself and you go, well, how then? And then he told me, I go, seriously, how? He goes, that is what we're doing. I go, I have kids in school. This is terrible. Please. I go, I want to go out like Sonny at the toll booth.
Yes.
Or I want to go out in the saddle or something. Oh, everybody gets shot. Yeah, this is something memorable. I go, oh my God. And I mean, that's what I had to do,
Yeah, the turkey sandwiches, I think you allude to that right before they happened.
I do.
Stomach trouble. Did David Chase is the one that told you that's how you were going to go? He told you how? He
told me everything on that fateful phone call. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and again, the last interview we did, with J.D. Williams, he was talking about how a death scene can be something great as an actor. If you pull it off right, it can kind of be your send off and how people remember you. You don't really have that opportunity. They're knocking on the door. They're trying to get in there. One of them's got to go to the bathroom and you're there.
I mean,
kind of loses the whole buildup for you to give that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a fan of it. A lot of people write, nobody thinks it's cool. I mean, it could, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just was anticlimactic.
Right.
It seemed too quick, too abrupt, too almost ridiculous in a way.
Yeah. And I mean, they had there are funny quirks about it afterwards, but
yeah. I mean, people do die that way in real life. Apparently, they do.
Yeah.
But still, was it? I mean, even if I step outside myself,
right?
I've read the comments over the years. It was too convenient, too easy. Just like what a shitty, pardon the pun, to just brush something aside and be done with it. You know what I mean? And move on.
Yeah.
I just wish. I just wish there was a little more. And if there could have been a little zippier, departure.
Yeah, better exit, so to speak.
Right.
Because everybody else that had your role on that show of that captain, I mean, you got Ralph, you got Vito. I mean, you know what? We talked about it earlier. Ralph gets his head cut off. Vito gets beat to death with a baseball bat, and apparently it rammed up his ass and everything else. There was a lot of bad mojo for that spot you had, but yet you went
everybody.
Yeah.
That was Richie April's crew too.
Yeah, Richie April too. Yeah. So he was cut up at the pork store.
A cursed crew.
Absolutely. And I think at the end, I think they gave it to Paulie, and he even mentions that he's like, I don't know, T. Everybody that takes that job has a bad ending or something along
Right.
those lines. So yeah,
They even
everybody in
mentioned
there.
me in the last episode. I think Tony says, Paulie says something. He goes, "Hey, Gigi died taking a shit." And I think it's a very final episode because Paulie was rehashing
Yes.
things.
And they were sitting outside the pork store. There's
Right,
a good
exactly
memorable
right.
photo of those two guys during
Yeah,
doing that scene. How was Tony Sirico to work with on the set?
it was great.
I hear the stories, man. He seems like somebody that I would love to meet.
Oh,
I get a kick out of his facial expressions when I'm watching it with my wife. She watches it with me now because she's actually a counselor. So she has a more appreciation of the show as a whole, watching it from the start of, especially the counseling sessions with Melfi, but she's watched the other stuff too. I get such a kick out of his facial expressions, man, when he's upset or whatever, his little laugh. I mean, it's hilarious. I don't know if
he
he meant to
is.
be that way, but he was almost more funnier than not most of the time.
Oh, he's hysterical. I mean, he's pretty close to that guy. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a skill. He loved James Cagney. And if you think of Jimmy Cagney, Tony used to say that he wanted to be Jimmy Cagney. Well, he was a modern day gangster Jimmy Cagney.
Yeah.
Kind of doing, even if that was his one and signature thing, it was so great
Yes.
that it's so transcendent. You didn't need to do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
He was so great, so perfect, so hysterical. And he was a lot of fun to be around, man. He was really, really good to be around.
Yeah, I bet he was. And he's talked on some interviews, about his, life of crime in the I think
Yeah.
he said he actually got the itch to act in jail. He's seen him play in jail.
Yeah,
Kind of how he did. So
yeah, he would talk acting, very humble, very, you know, just very cool. Very cool.
So out of season 3, obviously that's where you leave off. What was probably your favorite episode of season 3?
I think when I'm talking about the twin,
Yeah.
Because something, unlike I don't really have the recall of
Right.
like episodes and the titles so much.
Yeah, it's hard
Pine
because
Barrens in
you're.
season?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Okay, well that stands out because that's legendary. Everybody loves it.
Yes.
I'd have to go with that one.
I would show Pine Barrens to anybody, and I wouldn't have to worry about telling them the backstory to any of the characters.
Right.
You can put on that show, and it's 2 mob guys going to collect. They think they kill him. They get lost in the woods. Their boss is mad at them. That's a movie by itself.
Oh my!
But happening in that show, it is. I mean, him with the hair, and he loses his shoe. And
my God!
Tony mad on the phone, and they breaking up, and they can't hear each other. It's fucking classic, man.
Isn't it unbelievable? It's so insanely great. It's just off the charts great, isn't it? The writing, the acting, all of
Everything.
it, every moment of it. It's
and
insane.
The detail, I mean, when he's like, guys with the interior ministry, and then he hangs up, he's like, you're not going to believe this. The guy was an interior decorator. I mean, I lose it, man, every time that happens. It's definitely my favorite episode.
Oh, yeah.
Third season.
Yeah, so I would say that one, obviously. So that's a great one.
Now, Steve Buscemi directed that one. Was he directing any of them that you were involved in? Because I know he was a part of that.
I didn't really cross paths with him on that show.
Yeah, he didn't come on role wise until the 4th season, but I think he directed the Pine Barrens in the 3rd.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't really see him.
So, I mean, about being on the set there with some of the guys, I mean, I've heard some stories, but the food and the catering there, I bet was out of this world.
It was like being at a top Italian restaurant every day of the week. The food would be, the table would be like 5 long tables, one after the other.
Wow.
And then you go in the, shoot inside for a little bit and come back, and they would change things out. There'd be new things put out, and this would be out. And then there was lunch, and then there was other stuff laid out. It was just incredible.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, even today, that show, rewatchability is very high because it's timeless. Other than the cell phones that people have and maybe the computer size of some of the times when you see people on the computers, that show could air tomorrow. It's
it really, truly, legitimately holds up well. And the proof, with our own eyes, what we know. But like I said, there's so many young people that would literally not even born or just born when it came on, or they were 5 years old or whatever. And they are as fanatical as guys my age, your age, and they're young people. They were like maybe 10 when it went off the air.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that tells you a lot right there, you know?
Well, I recommend that show to everybody that I talk to if they haven't seen it. That's kind of like my go-to, like, hey, how are you? How you doing? Have you ever watched The Sopranos? You know, that's like the third on the list. And I recommend it to everybody who haven't seen it. And I love getting people that say, oh, I like mob movies, but I never watched The Sopranos. And I'm like, you got to just call out of work for a couple of days, put in some vacation time, whatever you got to do, go bang it out. It's the best show you're ever going to see.
Absolutely.
So when you leave, did you still watch the show after you left? Did you watch it? Or
I did. Yeah, I did. You know, I mean, obviously I was disappointed to go, sad to go, but I still watched the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was friends with all the people, most of the people that you saw, at least at that time frame.
Yeah.
Of course, new people came. I didn't know them, but the ones I saw them and they were friends, and I liked the show. I liked the show before I was on it.
Right.
And I liked it after I was on it. You know what I mean? So I was a fan of the show.
So you guys, and we talked earlier before we went on air, you probably see a lot of the guys, especially you just had a Sopranos con, and what was that, Atlantic City?
Yes, that was fun. I mean, I saw a bunch of guys from the show, you know, and I talked to a few others here and there. Of course, I live here, they live there, but you know, it's a small acting world, really.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, those shows are great for those conventions for a multitude of reasons. They're very worthwhile to do. You make a few bucks, you see your friends, you talk to fans, and it's incredible.
It's like getting paid to go to a family reunion type deal, because you guys were a family, I guess, in both senses of the word on that show. You know, the bond you had. It's not like there's tons of people. It's just you guys. So you gotta develop bonds strong on there.
Oh, absolutely. Because when you do acting, a lot of times you're in a little dressing room by yourself all day. Yeah. There's no, you know, like this show here. You go to the Sopranos. Any given day, there would be 20 Italian guys all hanging around. All of us actors, all of us similar backgrounds, just hanging around craft service table on the Sopranos going, is this unbelievable or what? How did Mama Luke's like us end up on this show? You know, just like our minds were blown. Other shows, you can sit in your tiny little trailer for 10 hours at a time before they come and knock on the door and say, we need you now. Yeah. And there's no one, if you step out, you look left, right, there's no one to hang around with. They're stuck up or this or that, or it's not that kind of show. And you're just there like this. And you do it and you say, I can't, you leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah, never a dull moment, I guess, probably on that show. Who was the biggest wisecracker out of all of them?
You don't have to sit in your dressing room, put it that way, by yourself on that show.
Who was probably the biggest jokester out of everybody on the cast?
I mean, I would say James, maybe. I don't have any specific, thing they can mention to you. Everybody was pretty upbeat. Everybody was kind of funny. But James was kind of, he was the leader, and he's kind of a joker, and I can't tell you specifically what. You know what I mean?
Okay. Now, have you seen the Many Saints of Newark trailer?
I have not. Yes, I did see the trailer. I thought you were going to say it. I see it in advance. I did see the trailer.
Wow, the trailer, I won't lie to you, it gave me chills hearing Jim's voice, seeing his younger son, Michael, playing him in that phone booth. I mean, I'm not kidding. It literally gave me chills hearing his voice, seeing him there. It looks really well done. I'll admit I was kind of worried because of the COVID and the delays. And I was just like, delays like that can kill a movie. The morale's not the same. The hype's not the same, but it looks like it's going to be fantastic.
I think it's going to be really good. Really good. I wouldn't be surprised if they turn that into a series.
You know that? It probably could, because
I'm sure if they want to, they could easily just say we're doing it. Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked if we read about that. I don't know anything by any means, but as a fan, as an observer, it would be a license to have the #1 show on HBO out of the gate.
Right? Absolutely.
You're #1. You just go right to the top.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know I'd watch it, and I mean, like I said, this movie looks like it's going to be good. I know I was waiting on the newer Gotti movie that Travolta did for a long time because I was excited about him doing it. And at a time, Al Pacino was cast in it, Joe Pesci was cast in it. So I was like, this is going to be something good. And then the more time went by, there was script rewrites, and Al dropped out or left. And then Joe Pesci, I think he even wound up suing him. He put on a bunch of weight to play Angelo Ruggiero, and then he got recast, so he sued him. So I mean, it's not the worst film I'd ever seen, but it's definitely not the best. And it was because a lot of people, got watered down. Willie DeMayo's in it. He does a good job playing Sammy the Bull. He was in the Sopranos there for the last season or two. So, but yeah, I mean, I hope that's not going to be the case with this. I don't think so by looking at that trailer.
I don't think so. I saw some article the other day. I think the guy who wrote it, a reviewer of some kind, saw the movie.
Right.
Pretty much raving about it. I think I read that they, in this long hiatus here, or with many saints, they shot 15 new pages.
Yes.
Somewhere along the way.
Yes, I read that the other day.
Yeah, and I think that probably put it over the top as far as, there you go, that's the movie. You know what I mean?
That's what you want to put in there. Yeah, I mean, it's Joey Coco Diaz. He's in there.
Yeah.
I can't wait, man. It looks like it's going to be fantastic. So after you leave The Sopranos, what comes up next? I know you do The Guiding Light. Does that come up next after that, or when does that fall in?
Oh, you cut out for a minute, but did you ask me about what I'm doing next?
Yeah, well, like after The Sopranos, what was kind of your next big reoccurring there?
Yeah, so I did a long run, believe it or not, on Guiding Light as the mob boss. I was the Tony Soprano.
Okay.
In this little soap opera town.
Yeah, well, you Sal Salerno or something like that?
Salerno.
Ben Salerno,
yeah. So I got to be the kingpin, but you're on a daytime soap opera. You're still acting, still getting pay tax, so that's good.
Yeah.
You're getting paid well, but you couldn't have been, one thing's here and one thing's here. You're on two different planets.
Yeah, and that was my next question was, what was it like comparing the two? Because, I mean, obviously they're, a whole different setup than The Sopranos. Your weekly Sopranos, that's or one episode a week.
Yeah, I mean, I got to have tons of lines on that show. I had on The Guiding Light. I had so many lines.
Yeah.
That if nothing else, it proved that time I can remember a lot of lines every day. And it was there was lots of comedy in there, lots of far-fetched, as you know, in soaps. A lot of far-fetched scenarios.
Right.
So you go from being serious to like these weird kind of, things where I'm seeing a psychic or whatever. You know what I mean? So like that. And I grew to like it. I mean, it wasn't like being on The Sopranos, of course.
Right.
But it was really easy in a sense, because in the soaps, if you could just say the lines, one take, you're done.
Yeah.
You don't get a second take. They don't want to do a second take.
Right.
If you ask for a second take, they won't even let you do it. They'll go, nope, we're good.
Wow.
Because they're pumping through pages, man. They're pumping 100 pages a day.
Oh yeah, yeah, they gotta go.
So you gotta know your stuff, and boom, boom, boom. So it was good training too. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it.
So not long after that, is that when you land on the Brotherhood, and you're also playing a mob guy in that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I did some things that sprinkled in here and there all along the way. You know what I mean? But yeah, that seemed to be a significant sort of thing at the time. That was a show that I wish it came out now or later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The timing wasn't right for that, because there's no reason that couldn't be a smash hit.
Oh yeah.
That was a cult show. It really didn't have the numbers.
Yeah.
The critics liked it. People that saw it liked it, but it just, back then HBO was here, Showtime was here.
Right.
Now it's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's close, if not shifted now.
Yeah.
And I was late to the party on that show. I don't think I watched it when it was live. I think I bought the box set and went through it pretty fast. And then obviously I seen you in there towards the end. That was a great show. A lot of those guys, I mean, killed those roles. What was the guy? He was kind of the leader before the Michael Caffey character came back. Kind of bald guy. I can't remember his name from the show.
Oh, the actor or the character?
Well, yeah, the actor's name. I think he would have been a perfect fit in The Sopranos for somebody.
Not Kevin Chapman. Was it Kevin?
I think it was. He ran the gang that Michael Caffey came back to. Might have been Kevin Chapman.
Yeah, because I mean he's very Irish, great guy, great
Yes,
actor,
yes,
done a lot
that's
of
him.
stuff.
Yes,
Yeah, he was him and Michael used to go against each other to run
yes.
that gang.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin's a Boston guy, and we've done a few things together. We're in
Yeah.
Coda, a movie coming out next week on Apple TV.
Yes.
But yeah, he's great. He's done quite well for himself. That show there, I didn't come in till late season 1.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I kind of was aware of that show too, going, oh, I wouldn't mind getting on there.
Yeah.
I read for the mayor, that Al Sapienza got.
Yeah.
I read for some other role, and I'm glad I didn't get either one because I like the role I got.
Yeah. Well, it fits you for sure.
That fit me, and the mayor seemed cool. I wanted to get it, but ultimately, where that role went and how it was,
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't get it. It wasn't for me.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you stayed working pretty heavy since then. You're always doing something. As you mentioned, you got Coda coming out. You've done a lot of, projects that you got behind the camera on as well. What's probably been your favorite thing you've done, since the Brotherhood and the Sopranos and all that? What's kind of been your favorite?
I would say maybe doing the movie Chappaquiddick.
Chappaquiddick,
based on the Ted Kennedy debacle. I like that because we got to go to Mexico.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, to shoot in the special effects water tank.
Wow.
With a cargo, that they built that for the Titanic. So that was all very interesting. They literally created the space for that movie. And then when that movie was done, they started using it like, if you're making a movie, you need water, and all right, go over there, right? So it was cool that we got to shoot in Massachusetts, where I'm from. Right. And then all of a sudden get in a plane and continue the same scene, but only now in Mexico.
Yeah. Now, what's his name escapes me, but he was also in the Brotherhood. He's in Chappaquiddick.
Jason Clarke, yeah.
Yes,
so we got to do scenes in both things together.
Yeah, and
he's done very well. He's blown up. He's done a lot of movies.
He had a show in Chicago for a little while where I think he was a cop, and then he was in the recent Pet Cemetery 2 remake, and
he's a movie guy.
Yeah, he's one of those guys you always see acting. He's in the movie The Silk Road about the guy that had the black market internet. That was a good role.
Yeah. He doesn't stop, man. Jason Clarke is just all out,
Yeah. So now you actually have your own podcast as well. Is that right?
I do. I'm a co-host with the legendary Be a Man. That's what we call him. That's his name. He's from Parts Unknown. Yeah. And we do a sort of a comedic podcast together that I'm fortunate to do with him, along with him. He's the guy, and it's fun. We enjoy it a lot. We've done about 8 or 9, whatever. We're going to do some next week. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Gaining some traction.
Yeah.
The Be a Man phenomenon, what he does.
Right.
We did a live show in Boston the other night. It was 900 tickets sold. It was unbelievable. Wow. Maiden Voyage, Insanity, great show. We may try to do more live shows. That's been a lot of fun.
Now, what'd you say the name of that podcast was for our listeners? And we'll add it to our show. I think
it's called the Be a Man Experience.
Be a Man Experience.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. I've got a book here, and he was on the show. I think he was on there after you went off, but it's Frank Vincent's book. It's a guy's guide to being a man's man. Somebody gave that for me because they knew I was a big Sopranos fan, and it's basically just all the stuff that he's got, his mannerisms and stuff like that.
That's perfect.
He was a fantastic actor.
Oh, tremendous. The Be a Man name, when they came up with it, we've all heard that phrase for our whole lives. Be a man, be a man. It's well ingrained in all of us. So, anybody can take it. There's multiple podcasts called Be a Man, different variations of it. It doesn't matter. Yeah. They find us, they find this one, they find that one. We do something different than they do.
Yeah.
And the graphic, everything's different, but we just expand upon that whole assault on malehood in a comedic way. We talk about our past because we're like the same age and how we see things and what the hell's going on here,
Right. And that's kind of with this, like, I named it Crime and Entertainment. I didn't want to get boxed into just doing true crime because, to do a good true crime podcast of something that nobody don't know about, that's a lot of work. You got to dive into the cases and get the backstory.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a lot of research. So I added the entertainment because I'm like, I want to reach out to some of these guys that I enjoyed watching and, you know, kind of get their story on playing some of the guys that have this crime aspect. So I added the crime and entertainment just to kind of make my job a little easier and a little
I
bit more
like it.
fun. Like being able to, you know, interview you. It's both. You got the crime aspect of the show and the entertainment aspect of you being in show business. So
Absolutely, man. It's a perfect fit.
yeah, the perfect fit. And like yourself, we're starting out, and you know we're gaining some traction too. So I'm sure this episode
Cool.
will do nothing but help. Well, we're winding down here. Probably we'll single in on the Sopranos. What was probably the most memorable moment or experience out of everything you did? What's the one thing when you tell your kids or your grandkids or whoever, you know, hey, this is I remember when this happened? What would probably be that? What you would tell them?
Well, I would have to say the shooting, you know,
Shooting.
because I don't think, I'm trying to think if I ever shot anybody on a film or TV show, whatever. But to be able to do that, because like I mentioned earlier, it was very gangland. Those
Right.
kind of murders were in the paper, like between New York, Boston, you know, East Coast.
Yeah,
Those,
Philly.
you know,
Yeah,
we've all seen those pictures. Yeah, it was very classic in the sense of a mob hit, and just to see what went into it and the involvement of everybody, you know, that had to make that shot happen.
yeah.
I would say that really stands out to me. You know,
That scene is kind of in resemblance to, I don't know if you know Angelo Bruno. He was the
yeah,
mob boss in Phil. I think they called him the Gentle Don. But the famous picture is him. I guess he got a shotgun to the back of the head, and he's laying in the thing with his mouth wide open, and you can see the glass broke. That was kind of what that shot. It kind of
yes,
resembled that a little bit.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. That's a
yeah.
tough way. Yeah, that mouth wide open. That's a very grim shot.
Yes, it is. That's definitely what you don't want. That's not what you want to be your final close up. Definitely for
No,
real life. For sure.
no, that's bad. That's a bad one.
Well, John, we've enjoyed having you on the show, man. It's been a blast. I'm glad we got to talk with you and you know get some experiences on the show. The last few things I want to ask, I get a lot of friends of mine, especially down here in Charleston. They ask me like, I'm not Italian. I just love the show. But they're like, what are these things they're talking about? What is gabagool? I know what it is. How would you describe it?
Well, it's a cold cut. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's a sliced cold cut that goes into it's capicola. You know,
Capicola,
West
yeah.
Italia.
You can get it hot and everything else.
Yeah, we call it gabagool. That's so
Yeah.
quick, but we gabagool. And
Now,
it's one of the layers in a beautiful Italian sub.
yes.
You know, solo. I mean, to me, like salamis can stand solo, prosciutto, but gabagool has got to be. Doesn't have to be. It's still good. Don't get me wrong. But when it's layered up in the sub next to the salami and all the other stuff,
Yeah.
you gotta have it. Or the
Yeah,
sub is
most
incomplete.
people's probably ate it and didn't realize they were eating it because
Oh, they don't know.
yeah,
The sub would be incomplete. You gotta have it.
yeah. Now
Yeah.
I'll get it actually just straight capicola from my Publix deli here, and I'll usually get some cheese to go along with it, and I'll lay it out,
Yeah,
and
right.
I love it that way. And every time I go in there, I know he's not gonna have a clue what I'm saying, but I tell the guy, I'm like, you know, give me some gabagool, and he's looking around, and he's like, I don't think we have that. I was like, yeah, you do. It's right here. It's that. And so now when I come in there, he's like, you want the gabagool? And I'm like, yeah, I want it. So he's starting to tell other people that.
Yeah, man.
One other thing, what they call it, schliadel. What is that?
Schwiadel.
Schliadel.
Schwiadel. It's a pastry. It's like an Italian kind of pastry made.
Okay, yeah, and even I didn't know what that was. I was like, I said, I know it's a pastry because that's what he tells them to put in the box. Christopher tells them to put in the box when he's there, and he shoots the guy in the foot.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, so it's got to be a pastry. He's in a pastry, you know, place, so it's got to make sense.
Right.
Well, that's some good stuff, man. We've really enjoyed having you on the show. You know, it's been fantastic. We wish you well going to the future and any projects. You got anything coming down the pipe that we need to look out for?
Well, I'm currently filming a movie called Z Dead End, a zombie movie.
Oh,
Believe
okay.
it or not, it's really going to be cool too. I've never been in one before. It's going to be a good one. Yeah, I think it's going to strike a chord, especially the people that like that kind of movie.
Yes.
So I play a general in a uniform, you know, in that one, and that's a lot of fun. That's going to be cool. So I'm doing that kind of a little bit in between to shoot some other stuff right now. Then I will resume in the fall. I
Okay.
did some stuff already though earlier in the summer. So we're doing that. You know, we get things going, a couple of things cooking, a few things we're working on, getting going. So it's been good. It's been busy, yeah.
Well, that's good. Listeners, please follow this show. You don't want to miss this show, especially if you're a fan of Sopranos. This is a can't miss show. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. We'll be on all the major podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher. If they got it, we're going to be on there. This video here will be uploaded in its entirety to YouTube. You do not want to miss it. I am Hollywood Wade. That was John Fiore, and we are out of time. John, it was a pleasure doing this interview, sir.
Thank you for having me, Wade. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.